on call, all in the SGU family. We will be starting in just a few moments, but I want to allow a little bit of time for those of you that are logging on to log on here, either through our Zoom format or through those of you that are logging on live through YouTube and through Facebook. We are excited to welcome you through all of these platforms this evening, and welcome to St. George's University's Doctors on Call, all in the SGU family. Now, I would like to just take you through a little bit of the history of our Doctors on Call and what it's all about, and give you a little bit of information on it. So due to the current times and the amount of events that we typically do around the globe, we have kind of shifted gears in 2020 to a more virtual experience and trying to bring a different atmosphere, a different experience of SGU to each and every one of you at home that are watching. So what we've established is a Doctors on Call event, which features doctors around the world that come from SGU, and ultimately all different specialties, all different themes, each and every month of the year. So what we've been doing is we've been having some key topics, key conversations, and ultimately here this time, as we get closer to that holiday season, a big topic is always family. And family is a big part of SGU and the culture. And as you'll hear from all of our panelists tonight, SGU is like a family. Our network is massive, and there are so many people throughout our School of Medicine program and our School of Veterinary Medicine programs that represent SGU, and immediately you'll hear it from our graduates and our student tonight, immediately connect about the experience that is Grenada and that is the medical school journey, may it be the School of Medicine or the School of Veterinary Medicine. So we're so excited to welcome you. For those of you that are here on our Zoom platform, please feel free to let us know who you are, where you're logging in from. I saw a few of you. I saw Michigan. And ultimately, it's so important to know that we have students from all around the world. So not just within the United States, but all around the globe. I've had a student that has said that they could go to 9 countries and have a place to stay. And I always thought like, wow, this is unbelievable. The type of network that you can establish at St. George's University. And that is what it's all about. We want to be, we want you to be part of that SGU experience, be part of that family. And that's why we have this event today, so that you can experience not only a little bit of the SGU family, but also graduates and alumni and students that have family members that have also experienced St. George's University as well. So at this time, I'm going to transition to our Director of Admissions, Jeffrey Bates. He has been with SGU longer than I have. I've been with SGU for 8 years, so quite a bit of time, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here, but Jeffrey doubles me in service time here. He's been with SGU for 16 years, and I couldn't think of a better person to facilitate a conversation about the SGU family than Jeff. So Jeff, take it away.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it. As Joe mentioned, I am the Director of Admissions here at St. George's University, and I have been with St. George's for over 16 years now. I cannot believe it has been that long. The time has flown by so quickly. As Joe was mentioning, normally throughout the fall, Joe and I and a few others in the office are traveling around the country, talking to pre-med, pre-vet students throughout North America. We're doing information sessions, pre-med, club visits, and we're really out on the road talking. But because of COVID, we had to pivot this year, and we started doing a lot of our events virtually online. And so we started doing our information session week after week, doing the same presentation, and it kind of got a little stale to us. So around June, late June, early July, we decided we really wanted to change things up a bit and kind of have, instead of a full presentation, just have a conversation with our graduates. And we decided to have what we call a series of Doctors on Call, where we were selecting doctors who are practicing in certain specialties just to come on and talk about what it's like being a doctor in that specialty. And it was a great series of events. And we were talking about, what ones we were going to add on. And I came up with the idea of ending the year with this event, which is SGU family event, because SGU really is a family. I was immediately welcomed when I started at St. George's University, and I was amazed by how close knit everybody was, from all the employees to all of the students to all of the graduates. As a new person at St. George's 16 years ago, knowing nothing about medical school, to have so many of our graduates come to events to help me out was absolutely amazing for me. It really showed me what a family St. George's is. So I thought this was going to be a great event. So we actually have 9 of St. George, actually 8 graduates and 1 current student, all from St. George's University, who are all family members in some shape or form. So it's a unique thing to actually see, second generation students who have come to St. George's University and have those parents kind of talk about the changes that they have seen from the time they graduated to the time their son or daughter graduated. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation tonight. We do have a lot of people logged in tonight, both through our Zoom presentation, and I see we have a lot of people watching online through our Facebook page and through YouTube as well. So we're very, very excited to get started. I do want to remind everybody, if you're on either Zoom or if you're on the Facebook, you can write in comments or questions. So if you're on the Zoom presentation, feel free to use that Q&A. I see a lot of you are already typing in where you're from. So feel free to type in questions to any of our panelists throughout the night. Also with me tonight is Nicole, who is one of our admissions officers, who has also been with St. George's for over 8 years now. So she has a lot of knowledge. So if you do have any questions about the admissions process, she can answer all of those questions for you as well. So with that, I do want to introduce to you our great set of panelists that we have with you tonight. I'm going to have them come on and introduce themselves and just kind of tell everybody when they graduated and what they have been doing since. And I'm going to start right with the Suica family, and I'm going to start with Joe Suica. Can you come on and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. My name is Joe Suica. I graduated, I guess, in 2014. That's what the slide says. And I'm currently doing a minimally invasive surgery in bariatrics as well as foregut surgery at the University of South Florida in Tampa. And before that, I was in Orlando doing 5 years of general surgery residency.
Fantastic. And now let's go to your father, who I know well. So I'm in sunny Orlando, Florida, and Dr. Suica, Stan Suica, is actually a very well-known doctor here in Orlando. Stan, can you tell everybody when you graduated and what you've been doing over all these years?
Sure. I graduated in 1982, so we were some of the first classes. And after that, I started out in internal medicine for a year and realized that surgery was my calling. So I switched over to general surgery and urology at State University of New York in Buffalo. And then I did a cancer fellowship at Roswell Park. And since 1989, I've been here in private practice in Orlando, Florida.
Fantastic. And now we'll go to your lovely wife, Sherry. Can you come on and introduce yourself as well?
Yes, I'm Sherry Udenfen Suica. I actually graduated in 82 also. We actually, a small group of us, graduated Halloween of 82 rather than December of 82 because of the restrictions New York State was putting on students coming in from foreign schools. So they dragged a whole bunch of us back early, graduated a little early so that we could be able to, be there and get into residencies. But Stan and I, as we said, we were both in Buffalo. I started off in internal medicine for a year, did 2 years of anesthesia, did a year of pediatric anesthesia fellowship at Buffalo Children's. I came to Florida. I practiced in some small community hospitals, was then chief of 3 departments at the Orlando VA when it opened. And I've been retired since '02, but I still volunteer at a free health clinic here in town.
Fantastic. Thank all three of you for joining us tonight. So we actually have a husband and wife and their son, all St. George's graduates with us tonight, which is pretty amazing and great to see. And so with that, I'm going to go over to Danielle McStudy, who's actually one of our current veterinary students. Danielle, can you tell everybody how you're doing, where you are right now?
Hi, so I'm currently in New Jersey and I will be moving to Raleigh in a month because sadly I can't be on the island with COVID. But currently I am in New Jersey and I just am starting in January my second year of veterinary school.
Fantastic. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions for you in a little bit about how that is going for you since we did transition to online classes because of COVID. So we will come back to you shortly. And you have your mother right next to you. Fantastic. Deborah, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you're doing?
Sure. Hi, I'm Debbie Coy, and I'm a pediatrician in West Orange, New Jersey. I've been in practice for 28 years. I went down to Grenada in 1983, only to get a free ride out of Grenada in October after arriving in August, because I was part of the invasion of 83. So that kind of delayed some of our studies. So I graduated in 88 and did my residency at University Hospital of New Jersey in Newark, and then went on to private practice, and that's where I am now.
Fantastic. Thank you both for joining us. And then we actually have two twin sisters with us today who both decided to come to St. George's University. Barry, can you come on and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Barry Miller. Last name was Salmon before. And my twin sister's here with me tonight. We both ended up going to residency at Jersey City Medical Center and trained in internal medicine. And now we are both at NYU doing observation medicine, which is part of the ER, but sort of a cross between ER and internal medicine. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And Tracy, so I know twins have a very close connection. So I want to know whose idea was it to come to Grenada? Tracy, was it yours or was it your sister's?
I actually think it was Barry's idea. It wasn't her idea to apply. I actually think that was our mom's idea because we didn't apply to any schools together except for St. George's. And then when we both got in and, heard from the other schools, and we were kind of getting sad thinking about splitting up because we went to college together as well. My mom said, "What are you so sad about? You both got into St. George's. It's a great school. I think you should both go." So we said, okay. And we told every other place we're not coming, and we came to St. George's.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both for joining us tonight, and we'll learn more about your pathway through in just a little bit. And that brings us to our last couple. So we actually have a couple who actually met in Grenada, fell in love, and are now married. Joe, can you begin and tell us how you two met and what you guys are doing now?
Well, I'm going to have to let the boss go first. So I'll let
it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, no, I've learned a few things along the years.
Hi, my name is Carolina Petro. So we met, Joe was a semester behind me, and I was a biochem instructor for DES, and he was one of my students. So that's how we met. But I finished my pediatric residency in Morristown Medical Center this past June, and I'm currently completing my chief resident position at the same hospital, and then hopefully doing pediatric hospitals after that.
And right now I'm a third-year internal medicine resident at Morristown, so we kind of took over. And then next year I'll actually be the chief resident for my internal medicine residency.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for all of you for joining us. I know the audience probably has a lot of great questions tonight, but let's start with talking about why you chose your specific field. And since I have both of you on, Carolina, can you talk about, when did you know what specialty you wanted to go into, and kind of talk about, how that's going for you now?
Sure. So I actually knew I wanted to be a physician for a long time. My decision to become a pediatrician also was kind of probably since I was in junior high school. My little niece was born premature. That was kind of like the first time I experienced the hospital. And I went to the NICU to see her, and I was just amazed at the doctors and nurses that worked there and took care of her. So I went on to, do a pre-med, and then I was lucky enough to go into, to get into SGU. And I still was open-minded to other specialties, but I really still enjoyed pediatrics, and I even loved it more in my clinical years. I was able to rotate at multiple different hospitals because SGU has a lot of different hospitals are affiliated. So I ended up, doing my residency in pediatrics, and I really love it every single day, no matter how bad my day is. Even if the kids are sick or not sick, or just a follow-up visit in the outpatient world, they just make, they just put a smile on your face. So I love it. And, hopefully doing pediatric hospitalist after I'm done with my chief position. So going to be working in the hospital.
Fantastic. Now, Joe, as you mentioned, she was a semester ahead of you. And now I'm assuming you wanted to end up in the same place. Can you kind of talk about, how you chose what specialty you wanted to go into, and how difficult was it to actually end up, with her in a residency, in the same location?
Absolutely. So everyone always talks about, the couples match. So we couldn't actually do that. So I basically, had to thread the needle to say. And actually, I started off as wanting to do family medicine. And I looked at all these different programs, and it was in my fourth year, we were applying. I was like, let me just apply internal medicine just in case. And sure enough, in my fourth year, I actually did a cardiology rotation. And I decided that there was no way I was actually going to do family medicine. I had to do cardiology. And it just happened that Morristown has a cardiology fellowship and interventional cardiology fellowship. So, I immediately changed all my interviews over to internal medicine, canceled all my family medicine interviews. It was a little bit expensive to kind of make that decision. But ultimately I came back over, and, it is very difficult trying to match in the same hospital. It literally comes down to an algorithm. When you actually look at it. So I did everything I possibly could to make sure that, everybody in the hospital, they wanted to rank me higher than everybody else. So it was nice in the fourth year, I was able to choose as many rotations as I possibly could to go to Morristown. So I did, I think, 3 separate rotations, and they pretty much couldn't say no at that point.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And the audience logged on tonight may not be aware of exactly how our program works. So our medical school is a 4-year MD program where students would actually spend their first 2 years usually on our main campus in Grenada, and then 2 years doing their clinical rotations. And we're actually affiliated with over 70 different healthcare systems throughout the United States, Canada, and even the United Kingdom for you to do all of your core rotations. And you can even stay at some of those hospitals for your electives as well. But in your 4th year, you can actually go outside of our system if you wanted to do some of those electives and get your face in front of all these great residency directors where you may eventually be applying to for a residency. So having them get to know you, see that you show up to work on time, that you're a good employee, you get along with all the other staff, is really beneficial in helping you get that residency of your choice. So it works out really, really well. So thank you for sharing that, Joseph. I appreciate it. And now I want to go to Debbie, back to Debbie. So you are also a pediatrician. When did you know that you wanted to become a pediatrician? And how was that transition for you from St. George's to getting into a pediatrics residency? And how have you enjoyed your career so far?
I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't change. Similar to what was said before, is children lighten up everybody's day, whether they're sick, happy, well. It's great to watch them grow up. Having been in practice for 28 years, I'm now getting a 2nd generation, which is probably the best reward I can get. It's one thing when a mother brings their child to you and they trust you, but when that same child grows up and then has their child, and they thought so much of you throughout their years of childhood that they pick you as the pediatrician. My mother was a kindergarten teacher, and I guess that was my major influence in pediatrics. However, when she got her second generation, I was about 25 years old. And I thought I was a smart aleck. And I said, wow, you must be old if you're getting your second generation of kindergarten students. And then it came back to bite me later on when I came home all excited to get my first second generation in pediatrics. And her words were, that's great, but you must be old to get your second generation. And I guess it's true, but it really has made the experience wonderful. When did I decide? Very young. I really decided probably 8, 9 years old. My uncle was a physician, my mother being a kindergarten teacher. So between the two, I think it had an influence on which direction I went in. And haven't looked back. Like you said, I kept my mind open as I did my different rotations, but it always came back to pediatrics.
Yeah, fantastic. And now Danielle, so you followed your mother's pathway to St. George's, but you actually went a little bit different route as going into veterinary medicine. Was there ever any thought that you wanted to become a medical doctor? Did you always know you wanted to be a veterinarian? And what made you choose St. George's?
So it's definitely a mix of both. I always wanted to be a vet since I was a kid. And then my freshman year of college, I was like, / senior year of high school, I debated maybe going medicine because I'm kind of the oddball out of my family in a sense. My 2 little sisters want to go medicine. So I wanted to work with animals versus people. So for a second, I did consider humans, and then I realized I do like animals a lot more. So that kind of definitely made that decision. And then as to why I picked St. George's, I grew up going to the island. I grew up since before I was even born, going about twice a year. So picking St. George's was a no-brainer when I was applying to vet school. It was automatically on my list. And when I got in, it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah, that's great. It's, doing this job for as long as I have found the biggest hurdle I have is getting students to think about going outside of their comfort zone a little bit, and leaving your home country to go to a different country can definitely be outside of some people's comfort zone. And I guess, for you never had that hurdle. Sounds like you pretty much grew up in Grenada, going back there so many times. You're so familiar with it that it was really an easy choice for you.
And as soon as I got on the island, everyone I grew up knowing, like all the teachers, professors, family, friends, were just right there, being the second family that I have on the island. So it didn't make getting homesick any different. I had everyone I knew growing up there. So
yeah, so it's great. I always tell people this is the time in your life to actually do it, to explore your comfort zone, travel to a different country, live in a different culture. By the time you get my age, you have a full-time job, you have a kid in school, it becomes very difficult to travel and see the world, so this is a perfect age in your life to actually do that. So it's a great opportunity. And so that I'm going to switch over to our sisters that we have. So I'm really curious about your story. So I'll have Barry go first. When did you first know you wanted to become a medical doctor?
Oh, okay. So, I did not think that I always wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted to do what my parents did. So I thought I'd be an artist or a real estate broker. And my mom said, you are not going to want to be a real estate broker like your father. So, Tracy and I then, we sort of had no idea, but we really were influenced by our parents, and they would always tell us stories when we were younger. And our dad started talking a lot about fundraising. And so we started doing fundraising, started off for the March of Dimes, and then we decided that we were really interested in doing fundraising for cancer research because we lost our grandmother to cancer. And as we did that throughout high school, we got really involved and thought, you know what, we think that as much as we can do on the fundraising end, to be able to speak to the patients and care for them one-on-one, face-to-face, we started really thinking about medicine. And so I guess our freshman year of college, we really thought, okay, this is what we're going to go into. So we chose chemistry and focused our energy on applying once it was time to medical school.
Fantastic. And so Tracy, were you pretty much on the same wavelength the whole time? Was there ever a time where Barry wanted to go to medical school and you wanted to become a pianist or something?
No, it sounds funny, and it sounds funny saying out loud, but at the time it didn't seem silly. Growing up, we always wanted to do everything together. And so, I would say something and Barry would say, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. I'll do that too, and vice versa. And I know that's, I think, hard for people who aren't twins to understand, but we always found it was either be very different or be just the same, because people always compare twins, especially. So we kind of went the route of doing everything the same and stuck together. So we pushed each other. We pushed each other to get there. We pushed each other through med school. We pushed each other every step of the way. And we kind of kept, we actually, in medical school and in our rotations and in residency, nobody ever wanted us together, even though they knew we wanted to be together. So they would always, we'd be in the same spot, like in the same residency program, but they would separate us, in terms of what rotations we were in, but we would always come back together and discuss. And I don't know, we always thought, okay, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to push together. And every time somebody told us you're not going to end up in the same place, we always pushed harder, and we did. So it worked for us. It's not for everybody, but it worked for us. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a great story. I can only imagine how wonderful that is to have a sibling with you, that support throughout medical school, which can be, difficult at times, to have somebody to really, help you study, know when you need a break, and really give you all that support. Can you kind of talk about your time going through medical school and the support you're able to give each other?
Well, yeah, for sure. When we were there, I mean, obviously you're going to a new island, and I don't want to say, it's not easy to go to an island without a sibling, because I don't want anybody to think that, the only reason it was okay for us and that we got along in Grenada well was because we had each other. Because I think, anybody here can probably attest to this, I think my best friends are from Grenada, and as much as Barry's my sister, I feel like I gained so many sisters and brothers in Grenada, and we talk every single day. About 20 of us from Grenada, we have a running conversation. But certainly the two of us definitely were built-in study partners. So when we were there, we were always roommates with each other and roommates with two other people, but we were the ones who studied together, and our roommates would study with each other. But it was, having a twin, I know the things that, when she's tired, I pull her up. When I'm tired, she pulls me up, and that's just something that was, I think, an added advantage. But I think everybody in Grenada becomes a family and friends there. I think everybody has a pair, and somebody always says, this was my study partner in Grenada, and they feel like that was their maybe best sibling, but we're all family there. So it was good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to bring in Joe Suica again. Now, Joe, I know that you are now in as part of surgery. You have a father in urology, a mother in anesthesiology. What made you choose the specialty you went into? Did you ever think about going into one of the same fields as your parents? And did you have a similar experience with getting to know Grenada because your parents had gone through there? Was that part of your decision to come to St. George's?
So I'll definitely start first off with coming to Grenada. I did go and visit Grenada one time in 2000. And to be perfectly honest, it was an eventful trip. It was the millennia. I think that my parents thought if we were on an island and something bad happened, we'd be safe. But little did they know, my little brother kind of fell off of like a Jeep, and I got hit by a firework on the eve of New Year's Eve. So I had very vivid memories of Grenada, all positive except for those two moments. But I really enjoyed it, and that made me very comfortable. I also went there for the basically like I think it was either high school or college program, which was a couple of weeks in Grenada, where they put you through some medical school classes, and just kind of was there for that month. And so by the time I made it back to Grenada, I'd probably been there 2 or 3 times. And so it was just a very easy decision to go down there. I also, in regards to going into surgery, I joke that I literally told my interviewer, I'm going into surgery. And he kind of gave me this funny look, like, what are you talking about? And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything else. And he's just like, well, you'll keep an open mind. Maybe you'll see something that you like. But I came from a background of fixing computers and working for Apple and working with my hands. And so for me, that was really the only path that I was going to go forward with. I did think a little bit about urology, but ended up in general surgery, and I personally have really enjoyed it. It worked out really nicely because I ended up at a residency program in Orlando and actually would bump into my dad at conference and lunch and the ER. And so it ended up being something where we essentially worked together for the last 5 years. And I definitely miss that here in Tampa.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. And I'm going to have your father come on, Stan. So as a urologist, obviously that is a very competitive specialty to get into. And you were very successful in doing that. And I know you're always ranked as one of the top urologists here in Orlando every single year. Can you kind of talk about, how you ended up in this specialty and how has your career been for you? And you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
You got to unmute yourself, Dad.
All right. My wife is, so listen, you guys are talking about going down there and, being blessed to have a twin sister. I was very blessed also to meet my wife because, I was having a great time and I met my wife and, she would make me go to the library and she would make me study before we'd go out. She would bring cookies and milk. You talk about being a lucky SOB. I mean, I just stepped into the Grenada. And I met the woman of my dreams. I've been married 38 years, so it's been outstanding. But what happened is I started out, I told you, in internal medicine. And right now I do have some medical students that come from University of Central Florida. And I tell them, look, keep an open mind, but by the second year, you need to simply know two things, or actually one thing. Do you have a medical personality? Or do you have a surgical personality? And if you have a surgical personality, go into surgery and one of the subspecialties. If you have a medical personality, then you go internal medicine. Joe was very lucky to realize that, hey, he wants to go into surgery. I personally thought I wanted internal medicine. And I started and I was good at it. And they were going to make me intern of the year. And I said to myself, I'm not happy. The beauty of medicine is that you can actually start in a certain field, and if you are not happy, you can actually change. It was easier in terms of urology before to get into urology than it is now. Urology has become extremely competitive compared when I got in, so that's the biggest difference. But again, with the students coming in, just keep an open mind and then just decide on that. So what happened was that I went to my internal medicine director, and he says, well, I have some news for you. I said, yes, sir. He says, you're selected intern of the year. I said, well, thank you, sir. What do I get? He says, New Harrison's, which is textbook medicine. So I have to tell you something. He says, I'm going to go into urology. I'm going to leave. And he says, well, we can't make you intern of the year. I said, why not? He said, it'd be bad for morale. So I just, and again, a partner in life is so important because my wife at that point says, let's go to Buffalo. And I said, Buffalo? And she said, yes, I went to school in Fredonia and it was an outstanding place. And that turned out to be very good. So she started on internal medicine as well. And I was in surgery. That was also before the match. Now, it's a little more difficult because you need the couples match. We were able to go there and talk to the directors of both programs and sign prior to the match. So it was just a little easier than it is now in terms of a couples match. But I, like I said, continued to do surgery and love surgery. And like Joe, I like fixing things. And a lot of guys do like fixing things. And I think that's why it's good for match for me. And Joe, my wife, on the other hand, is an extremely brilliant person, of course. Her only mistake was probably marrying me, but that's another story. But, for her, anesthesia was just the thing for her because I never realized how much they had to learn until one time when she was studying for her boards, and she was going over the urology section. And I was just blown away that she had to know almost as much as I did in order to pass my boards. So again, you will find your way. And if you don't, you can always take a course, sideways or do something else. And so I've been very blessed in urology.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story with us. It's it's really amazing how many students come to St. George's and then end up meeting their future spouse there. It truly is amazing. So in my 16 years here, I have now been invited to 3 different weddings, all from students that I recruited at one point, and they ended up meeting somebody in Grenada, fell in love, and got married. So it's really an interesting thing to see happen. It's really, really cool. We really are a family, or become a family, coming through St. George's University. I would like to pivot back to Debbie for a minute. So Debbie, I know you've been very involved with our alumni society over the years, and you've been back to Grenada several times. Can you kind of talk to everybody about the growth that you have seen on our campus at our university over the years?
It really is incredible. From the time that I went in '83, and then I became active with the Alumni Association probably in the mid-90s. And actually, we ran the CME. So I'm sorry for all your accidents in Grenada at the Millennium. I guess I feel partly responsible there because we organized that CME, but it seemed to turn out okay for you. It's incredible, the growth. And then going forward now to Danielle and her white coat ceremony, and going back again with some of the alumni functions, it's really incredible. We were on the 2 campuses. We were on Grand Anse and True Blue. And now everything is basically one main campus up on True Blue. And it looks amazing. It is so modern. It has everything you could ever dream of, plus more, because as I'm sitting looking at one of the pictures here in the Zoom, the beautiful background is absolutely Grenada. And it's a beautiful resort type setting in a very modern medical/veterinary school. It's incredible. When I was there, and I'm sure Stan and Sherry could relate, we were on the 6 hours on of electricity and 6 hours off of electricity. And that's how we had to learn to study, in those 6 hours of having electricity, or using our candles or things like that. And now everything's so modern. You have all of the wonders of home. So there's no reason not to enjoy it and love it, because as we sit in the snowstorm today, they have the beautiful background of the water and the sandy beaches.
Yeah, fantastic. And Danielle, I know we have some students who have recently been accepted to St. George's University on tonight. I see some people are posting comments on the Facebook page that they're going to be starting in January, and they're all excited. And I know you started on campus and you had to come home because of COVID, and you've now completed a full semester online. Can you kind of share with everybody how the online education has worked for you? I know it's going to be very similar whether you're in medical or veterinary school with us, how those classes are taking place.
Absolutely. So it's really not much different, at least for the vet school. The nice thing with us, and I believe the med school does it as well from what I've heard from my friends, is that like on campus, we have like a live lecture and then it's recorded and you can rewatch it. So the nice thing is, like, instead of having to rewatch it now twice, if you miss something, you can go at the pace that you like online. So everything for us is pre-recorded. I know for the med school, they do have live lectures, so you have to be like on Zoom at certain times. For the vet school, that's not the case. We have all pre-recorded lectures, and then like we have mandatory Zooms. Then each teacher has like office hours, which are like an hour to 2 hours, depending on the credit. And you can like ask questions, or they'll review like certain topics that we learned about that week or the previous week. And then some are mandatory that like go towards your grade, and they'll like emphasize whether they're mandatory or not. The nice thing that I know my class did, and then like for the incoming class, I recommended it because I'm like on that Facebook page, is our class reps made study groups of people in our area, so who are in the same time zone as each other, and like we had to fill out a Google Doc of where we were at, and then they like made study groups of like 6 people that you guys can like share your like study guides, your tables, Kahoots, because Kahoots will become your absolute best friend with St. George's. I live upon them. And like stuff like that, and like your class typically has like a big class chat, but this is just a group of people that you can easily study with and like know are in the same area and time zone as you, and that absolutely definitely helped. And then just using like a lot of online resources that your teachers give you for like labs and stuff also like helps with the online experience.
Yeah, so I mean, it's great to hear that even though everybody is home right now, you are still actually creating that relationship with a lot of your classmates, and you're still able to have study groups together and have all that same interaction that you would have on campus. So obviously we all hope that we're going to be back on campus come next fall, but obviously starting in January, we will be online again. But it has been going really, really well. The students who just completed this semester did extremely well in all their exams and tests, and it worked out very, very well for them. So thank you for sharing that. Now I do want to, we're going to go through everybody, and I'm going to have you guys think for a second, if you can. Think back to when you were looking into going to medical school or veterinary school. Think about all the questions that you had then, all the excitement you had, and maybe all the concerns or self-doubt that you had, and think about where you are now. Can you kind of offer any advice, anything that you know now that you wish you knew then, for any student who is looking to follow the same pathway that you guys have done over the years? And I'm going to start with Joe Suica. Can you kind of share with everybody any knowledge that you have, any advice that you have for the students online today who may be looking to go into surgery?
Absolutely. So I think just first things first, it comes with a good base of education, and which I think SGU provides in spades. But I think the best advice that I can give students going into any field is that medical school is very much so unlike undergrad in that it is definitely busy and it is like a full-time job. The material is not conceptually difficult, but it takes a lot of time to really get the layers down, and you have to have a good schedule and be consistent about it to keep up with it, because it is really, really hard to fall behind in medical school because of how busy it is. In regards to surgery, I think it is really very true that it's like any other field in that you have to get to know people. You can get involved in different clubs or different societies. But really during your 3rd and 4th year, you can get involved at good places that have surgery programs, as well as do audition electives in places that have a good surgery program. I actually reached out to St. George's before I did my 3rd year, and I said, which spot do you think would be best for me if I wanted to do surgery? Where am I going to get the optimum amount of exposure to surgery as well as connections to go forward? And they said, you need to go to St. Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston, New Jersey, which I know is right down the road from West Orange. Just a shout out. I was there for a couple of years. And I really enjoyed it there, and they gave me a great surgical experience. And so I think no matter what field you go into, looking to people who have a history in it, like myself or other alumni, as well as speaking to the school and kind of asking them, where are our good rotations? Where have we matched? Really goes a long way. And at least in regards to surgery, and I think with a lot of other fields, humility as well as studying goes a long way. Nobody wants to kind of deal with somebody who thinks they know everything. They want people who are open to being learners. And that's something that I saw firsthand today here in the OR. I actually had a scrub tech trying to teach one of our medical students something, and the medical student just kind of wasn't interested. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm just not going to spend any time with this student because they're not interested in learning. If you can show that you are somebody who wants to learn, who's interested in being there, no matter what field you're into, people will notice.
Fantastic. That's great advice, Joe. I appreciate it. And now let's move to your mother. Sherry, I know anesthesiology is, again, another very competitive type specialty to go into. What advice would you have for students who are looking to go to medical school now and maybe have that on their radar as a specialty to go into?
I think Joe's advice is sound advice. Try to find out where the good residencies are. The residency I went to, I sort of fell into. I started off in internal medicine, and in April, the chief resident came to me and said, what are you going to do in July? I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, you only signed up for 1 year, not for 3 years. And so I went to lunch sort of downtrodden, and I had never considered anesthesia. I really wanted forensic pathology or radiology. And I got really panic stricken because Stan already had his residency there. And so I was scrambling, and they said, oh, anesthesia wants somebody. And it was a very, they were very money oriented. It was a very, they were very, very, very busy. We probably did 3 times the amount of cases the board allowed us to do. But that being said, when I got out, there was nothing I hadn't seen. Everything from malignant hyperthermia to just about everything that could go wrong in an operating room. And so when I ended up practicing in a small community hospital, I wasn't afraid. So, you know, try to find a program that's good. Try to find a program that's going to push you. Don't be afraid to put the hours in, because that's where you're going to get those little tidbits that are really going to help you later on.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And that's an interesting point, is a lot of students wonder, well, when do I need to decide what specialty that I want to go into? And some students, you know, have it in mind once they start medical school, I'm going to do this, but they actually realize later on, they actually, you know, find something that they like even better. So it's not a decision that you do have to make immediately. A lot of students, you know, when they're doing their clinical rotations in their 3rd and 4th year, you know, and they're exposed to everything, they find out they actually like something they didn't even really consider before. So there's no immediate rush to decide what specialty you want to go into, but obviously the more prepared you can be, the better. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of literally fell into it. And, you know, even for those of you who like doing things with your hands, I mean, there are parts of anesthesiology here that become invasive. I used to run the pain clinic at the VA. I put probably in over 2,000 epidurals. I was doing all sorts of blocks. So anesthesia can also provide you with hands-on, a little bit of invasive aspects. And anesthesia is not only general or local or monitored anesthesia care anymore. I mean, you can go into pain management. There's all sorts of things you can do. And if you want a specialty that, you know, as my husband was saying, that you really have to keep up with everything all the time, it's really great if you like to keep your mind busy. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much. And Stan, can you kind of tell everybody, you know, about urology, another very competitive, what advice would you have for somebody looking into that pathway? How can they best prepare themselves to get into that field?
You almost have to stand out somehow. And coming from St. George's, I think that the most important thing you could do is see if you can get yourself involved in a couple research papers as a 3rd and 4th year to get involved with that, number one. Number two, make sure that whatever specialty that you are considering, go to that area. Make sure you do a clinical rotation, especially as a 4th year student, early. And you just don't go in like everybody else. You don't take that for granted. Just by going there, then what you have to do is show them that, you know, you are willing to put the time and effort. Let's put it this way. If you go to St. George.
Did we lose Stan?
I said, by going to St. George's, you become an extra special person. Why is that? Because you have chosen to go outside your comfort zone. You'll find that there are medical students that, you know, went through the U.S. schools, for example, and they take it for granted. The one thing we don't do from St. George's is take anything for granted, because we really appreciate where we are. So instead of, if the guy's only spending 20 hours, you spend 30 hours. If they're doing a research paper, you do 2 research papers. And you don't have to just always do research papers. You know, when Joseph was 16, he published a book. That, when he was going for interviews for college, was a big thing. You could write to your local papers on comments. You have to be careful what you write, but you stand out. And how do you stand out? And I tell this to our medical students because some medical students want to go to orthopedics. And orthopedics is extremely difficult to get into. I say you have to stand out by doing excellent rotations. You have to try to write. You have to try to publish, and then you have to have good test scores. You know, Joe was saying about making sure that you prepare yourself well. You have to be extremely organized in medical school because the amount of volume that you get in terms of the stuff that you have to learn is unbelievable. And it has, seeing what Joe went through and what my wife and I went through, the volume has exponentially gotten to be very great. You know, Harrison's, when I started, was 1 volume. By the time I finished, it was 3 volumes. Same thing with Campbell's Urology. We started with 1 book. Now we're up to 4 books. And you could see, so the amount of knowledge that you're getting there. So, number 1, be extremely prepared. Number 2, make sure you kick butt on when you do your rotations, because that is going to be your best chance for residency spot. Number 3, if you can, publish or do something that will make you stand out in the crowd.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think that is great advice. You know, obviously, you always want to make yourself stand out in any way that you can. And St. George's students in themselves stand out from all the life experiences that you're able to get by not only coming to, you know, our campus in Grenada, but we have a lot of other opportunities around the world through our selectives, through our clinical rotations, the affiliated hospitals that we have. You can go to so many different places and experience so many different things. That really does help you stand out. We do also have a bunch of dual degree options at St. George's, where if you do want to be published, you can do one of our master's programs as well. On our campus is WINDRIF, which is the Windward Islands Research and Education Foundation, where a lot of research projects are going on. And also when you're doing your clinical rotations, it's always great to get with one of the physicians there who is doing some research, and you can join them as well. So that is great advice. You definitely want to make yourself stand out in any way possible. So with that, I'm going to move over to Dr. Petro. Carolina, can you kind of share your experiences and advice that you may have if anybody's looking to go into pediatrics? I know you're a chief resident, so you've been doing very well. Can you talk about, you know, applying for a residency and you know, getting a choice spot?
Sure, definitely. So I think definitely standing out is a big thing. And I also interview for SGU, so I say that to all the applicants as well, especially now with the USMLE being kind of pass and fail. You definitely want your application to stand out, and SGU does give you a lot of opportunities, just like you said, to stand out. There's a lot of research opportunities. You know, when I was interviewing for residencies, I was able to publish a chapter in a book with Dr. Mario Lucas, and that was at every single residency that I interviewed at, they asked me about, you know, being or publishing a chapter. So that was a big thing. And I think the thing that I would suggest for students to do when they're in their 4th year is to go to different hospitals and experience them firsthand, because when you go on interviews, you only see that program and that hospital for, you know, a couple of hours, and you can't really get a great feel for that hospital and kind of see if you fit in or if you like the program. So actually, because SGU has so many different affiliated hospitals, you are able to go to, you know, a whole bunch of different hospitals every month for rotations. So what I did, I was able to rotate at multiple different hospitals in New Jersey and New York. I wanted to stay in the tri-state area, so I did, you know, pediatric cardiology, pediatric pulmonology, pediatric GI. So like I was able to meet the residents in those different hospitals, the attendings, and of course, I always made sure that I went and met with all the program directors, so they know my face and they know I'm interested in pediatrics and that I would be applying for them to look at my, you know, kind of look out for my application. And I was able to get interviews for all those hospitals. So I think that's a really big deal in order for you to go and experience those hospitals.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Thank you. And Joseph, what would you say if anybody's interested in internal medicine?
I mean, internal medicine is one of those, bread and butter specialties. When you go on it and you go into it, everybody, it's really so nice because you have so many opportunities available to you. You can go on and just become a hospitalist, which is still, an outstanding field to go into. You can be an admitting hospitalist. But the nice thing about internal medicine and why I was pulled to it is because there's so many specialties afterwards. And I really agree with Stan, the thing that really sets SGU apart is we're such hardworking, not only medical students, but it also carries on into our residency. Right now I have 2 regional conferences that are pending. I have, multiple publications. I have so many things that are going for me. And then obviously I want to go on into cardiology, which is one of the hardest specialties to go on into now, especially now with COVID and everything else that's going on. So, it's one of the big things that, obviously, like I said, internal medicine, there's so many opportunities, and SGU really provides you the chances to go on and experience those. So yeah, that's kind of the only thing I can say about that.
Yeah, no, that's great. So that's what a lot of students early on don't realize, that internal medicine is a pathway to a lot of other specializations later on. And so it's a great opportunity to do that. So Tracy, so you're also in internal medicine. What do you know now that you wish you knew a bunch of years ago when you were applying to medical school?
Well, okay, so going back in time, just, when I was thinking of going to Grenada, my first fear was one, that I was going outside of the United States and that maybe I wouldn't learn the same things that I would have if I were at school here in New York or, somewhere in the US. But that was far from true. Obviously, that's not the truth at all. We learned exactly what my friends here that stayed in the US learned. I actually think we might have learned a bit more. I heard in medical schools here, my friends telling me that they skipped parts of head and neck or different things. All of the, something that I didn't know going in was that almost all of the professors that taught us were all from the US. They were from Harvard, they were from, I think Duke, they were from all over, and they came from here. So we were learning from the same, but also having more diversity instead of just learning from professors that came from one US university. Then going on to, so that's something I didn't know. And also I didn't know how easily accessible things would be to get there. I had no problem with any of the food I wanted. That wasn't an issue at all. I had air conditioning. I had a cleaning lady twice a week in Grenada who came with the dorm. So, it definitely wasn't roughing it when I was there. And in retrospect, I remember being scared that that's what it was going to feel like. And then you're only there for 2 years and you cry when you leave because you don't want to leave an island after exams. Going on the beach is much nicer than going to a movie theater or whatever people do here in the US to relax after their exams. But then you go back, and I think the thing that I also did not realize actually until I was in it was that whereas US medical schools say I'm at NYU now, so I see the medical students at NYU, and they can only rotate at NYU pretty much. I mean, I guess you can ask to go outside, but they are confined to the medical school and the university that's associated with it. But at St. George's, there's so many affiliations that it's great because if you choose to, just like Dr. Petro was saying, you can choose to do your rotations in all different universities and hospitals in whatever area or whatever field you want to be in. And it's great because they then get to know you. And when you make yourself stand out, whether it's through research or just showing interest, I wasn't as much into research. I was more into, I was just more into the clinical aspect. But if you really make a name for yourself, being at a rotation for a month, they get to know you. You get more what's called interviews when the time comes, and you do really get to know if that's a place that you would like to be. It's not saying, okay, I did all of my rotations at Harvard and now I hope I like going to North Carolina or wherever it is. You know that you like the place, and I would say a large majority of SGU graduates go to a place that they did rotations at for residency because they feel comfortable and they know they made a great impression and that the people in the hospital truly want them there. So I think all of those things were great. And then moving on, I still had the fear when I was about to graduate from residency as to would I get questions as to why I went to St. George's and why I chose to go to a community hospital for my residency. I was afraid that I was going to get questions as to why I chose St. George's and do I think I'm prepared? And yes, some people ask that, but like I think it was Stan said, you say how resilient you are and how many different experiences you had that all of these other medical students and residents didn't have because they stayed at one location. And I think it makes you stand out. And I had no problem getting a job now at NYU, and nobody even asked me where I went to medical school, where I went to residency, and I offer it up because I'm proud of it. And so I think in the end, you just push for what you want and you make yourself stand out, and you're going to get a better experience at SGU because you have the ability to move around and see what is best for you so you don't feel stuck in the end.
Yeah, that is fantastic, Tracy. Thank you so much. I couldn't have said anything better myself. You brought up a lot of great points there. And you're absolutely right. You know, having over 70 affiliated hospitals for students to choose where they want to spend their clinical rotations and to be able to bounce around to a few of them really is a huge advantage, especially as it was already mentioned, how the USMLE Step 1 exam is going to be moving to a pass-fail scale. Traditionally, it was scored, and our graduates always did so well on that exam that their score was one of the things that helped them get very competitive type residency. So I know some students have been concerned, well, now that it's going past fail, how is that going to affect our graduates getting very competitive residencies? And I think the answer is that you know, residency directors are going to look at everybody's application more holistically. It's going to have a lot to do with how well you do on a Step 2 exam, but also, you know, your letters of recommendations and the connections that you have made along the way. So to be able to do some of your rotations at hospitals that you will be also applying to for a residency and allowing that team to get to know you and see who you are is really an advantage. So we really believe that our graduates are going to continue to get top-notch residencies around the country. So thank you so much for talking about that. And Barry, so what do you know now? Did you have a similar experience in your rotations? And what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
Okay, well, obviously I had a lot of the same thoughts as Tracy, but just a few things that, you know, I totally agree with everybody on this panel and what everyone's saying. But first of all, something that I think is important for anybody who is in medical school rotations, I think something that I personally did myself, but I noticed a lot of other people didn't do was, I think people get really pigeonholed and think, okay, I want to do pediatrics, I want to do internal medicine, and they don't really give it their all in all of the rotations. And I think that people forget that, first of all, your reputation is everything, and you are going to be working with, you know, other specialties, other fields, even once you choose your field, even if it's not the same. And so that's really important that you do work hard in every single rotation that you do. Besides that, you're going to be getting recommendations from those people for residency. So it's really important. You know, I did an OBGYN rotation. I knew I didn't want to do it in the end, but that's who I got a great recommendation from. Same thing with family medicine and one of my favorites was a surgeon that I worked with, and he gave me a recommendation. So I think that that's really important. Another thing that I guess I didn't hear anybody mention, and may be helpful for those of you that are listening that are, you know, in high school or, you know, going into college and trying to sort of figure out what you want to do and what's going to give you the best odds for getting into a medical school. I think that things that I heard later that I didn't really think before is I always assumed if you want to go into medicine, you should choose a science. And that's not really the case. I think that as long as you do well in college, choose what you like to do, you're going to end up having to do organic chemistry or whatever it is that you need for your prerequisites. You can do that if you want in your, in your regular course load, or you can do it in summer rotations. But I think that obviously grades matter. You have to obviously study hard in whatever you do, but you don't have to torture yourself and choose a field just because you think that that's the traditional path to get there. Especially St. George's, I feel like they love having people from all different backgrounds. And so you don't have to feel like, they're not going to interview you if you are, you have an art background or something else. So I don't know, everything else I think would repeat what everybody said, but those are some other tidbits that I didn't know before that I think are maybe helpful.
Yeah, that is perfect. Thank you so much. And now I want to go back to Debbie, and I actually have two questions for you. One is the same as everybody's been answering. What advice do you have for students who may be looking to becoming a pediatrician one day? But my second question is, maybe we have other parents logged on today viewing this presentation. As a mother, what did you have concerns about sending your daughter to Grenada outside of the country? I know a lot of parents always ask me, I'm afraid to have my daughter leave the country, how safe it is. Did you have any reservations about sending Danielle to Grenada for veterinary school?
So I guess in regard to what would I recommend, your first question, no different than anybody else. I think everyone has to realize if you put your mind and set your mind to doing something, you can achieve any goal you set out to do. I always said to my children, confidence, perseverance, and determination. And I really think those are words that I really learned from St. George's. Definitely, we took the harder path going there. But whenever you come back to the United States, whether it be clinicals or residency, and everybody has said that, the one thing that you always hear them talk about St. George's graduates is that they know they're hardworking and they know that they wanted to achieve the ultimate goal of becoming a physician. And I think it follows through in life, 28 years out now. I have many parents that come to me as a pediatrician who they are St. George's graduates, and they almost search out, someone who graduated from St. George's to be their physician because they know that they were successful at what they did because of St. George's. So like everyone else said, I'd only be repeating myself. You set your mind to do it, you work hard, and you can achieve that goal. As far as sending my daughter to Grenada, I think I would worry if I sent her across the bridge to New York. That's part of being a parent. So did I worry more about Grenada versus going into New York? Absolutely not. I knew, yes, she had the advantage of having been there, knowing the ins and out, having people that she did call a second family. But that's not how it was for us. I went there. I had a cousin that was 3 semesters before me, and then another cousin that was 2 semesters before me. So yes, I had them, but they had already moved off the island. One was in the island of St. Vincent back in the day when we went to St. Vincent's. So Grenada becomes your family, and everybody looks out for each other. It's a little different than when you're in college. In college, it's a competition against each other. It's you versus the person next to you. Grenada, you become each other's family member. And it continues now. So many years later, my best friends are from Grenada. My children's godparents are from Grenada. So it really, I feel, is a great place to experience 2 years. You have the rest of your life back here. You have the 2 years of clinicals and everything else. But it really sets for a beautiful foundation. Like every place.
Can I piggyback on that, Jeff?
Wow. Absolutely.
So let me just tell you, especially that we are talking about family. Grenada is family, and I'll give you an example, a couple examples. Number one, in addition just to meeting my wife there, but Dr. Ralph, for example, was there when I started. I remember we were like a second class there, and he still knows your name. this guy has been there, and it's the teachers. A lot of them have stayed. A few weeks ago, I saw something about Charles Modica, and I have his cell number. I called him up and said, Charles, that was a beautiful presentation. And he says, listen, when I'm going to come to Orlando, we'll go out. He said, not a problem. So it is a family, and it's very important. And I think if I have any advice for students, and once they're accepted in there, don't try running home so quickly. My wife and I were quite poor when we grew up, and so we didn't have much money. And consequently, we stayed on the islands when everybody was leaving and going back and forth. And I want to tell you, we had an outstanding time. We would island hop. We would go sailing. We'd go up to where the volcanoes in St. Vincent, go walk all the way to the top. And if you realize, if you make the best of that experience there, you only have great memories. I've been there multiple times with Joe and everything else, and I only have true great memories. If you realize that, and just don't try to be running back so quickly, it really is an outstanding thing that I personally would repeat in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, I would do it. So it's family, it's an education. The other thing nobody mentions is that the level of education that we have there is outstanding in terms of getting everybody ready. And it's too bad they're making it pass-fail in terms of the boards, because there was a kid in front of me, then when they took the boards, he was the number one test taker in the country from St. George's. And the following semester, when I took it, we had to take the ECFMG because it was kind of embarrassing to some of the schools in the United States that actually the best score was from St. George's. And as you know, we hit in the 90 percentile all the time. So not only do you get a life experience, but you have an excellent education. And if you're very lucky and blessed, you may meet the love of your life there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Just what he said really reminded me of this story that, somebody actually that I don't talk to really ever, but, I'm friends with her obviously on Facebook, somebody that went to St. George's, and she messaged Tracy and I one day, and she said, I don't know if you remember this, but she said she came alone to Grenada, and she was there for a few days, and she said, I loved being on an island, but I was a bit overwhelmed with the thought of being alone, away from my family, not knowing anybody. And St. George's was having, and I'm sure you guys still do it, you have all of these, get-togethers in the beginning so that people get to meet each other. And she said, I think that I'm going to get a plane ticket and fly home. We haven't even started classes yet, but I think I'm going to go home because I can't imagine being here. And the two of us said to her, no. She was waiting online behind us at it wasn't Bananas, it was some other place. But she said, we said to her, no, you're going to come in, you're going to talk to our friends. We said, they may not be your friends by the time you finish, but we promise you, you're going to have fun and you're going to work hard. And she messaged us probably 2 or 3 years ago. And she said, I can't believe that I even thought of leaving for 1 second, because she said, you're right. I don't talk to any of the people that you introduced me to anymore because they weren't my year. But she said it was the best experience I ever had. And I wouldn't have finished medical school if you two didn't grab me randomly off the line and say, you're staying. So I think that that's important for people to know. Just give it a little time. And even if it feels like a few days is forever, within a week or two, you're going to love Grenada and never want to leave. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And so that brings us to Danielle. So you're the youngest one here. You're still in school at St. George's University. So being the freshest person, having, started, what advice do you have for somebody who may be starting in January or maybe thinking about applying right now, or maybe on the fence?
I would definitely say like follow what you love and like don't be afraid to branch out. Like I always was set to working small animal, and thanks to you guys asking me to do more large animal experience, I worked with an amazing equine vet that I absolutely fell in love with the career and has changed for what I want to do. My goal now is to actually practice an equine along with small animals, but to combine both, which I probably would have never done if it wasn't for you guys. So I would definitely recommend branching out and on like the more like you everyone's saying you work hard and you absolutely do, but also just like take care of yourself while you do it and like enjoy the island. Like there's such beauty that you get to enjoy. Well, like I certified of scuba diving, something I probably would have never done if I didn't go to Grenada my first semester on island, and I've hiked the waterfalls. I've participated in Carnival and Juve. I've done a lot that is definitely amazing of just enjoying the island as well as like focusing on school. So definitely take advantage of it because you need the breaks and you deserve the breaks, and you have a beautiful island in front of you that you absolutely get to enjoy. So definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I always tell students, obviously your main focus is studying and doing well in your classes, but everybody needs those breaks. You need to, really have that downtime and go out and explore the beautiful island. It is one of the most, popular vacation destinations in the world. Scuba divers love going there. It's such a beautiful, beautiful island, and you need to take advantage of it while you're there. Obviously your main focus is school, but to have those mental breaks is so important for your mind. So I know we're a little over time. It's been a great conversation. I really have enjoyed talking to you guys. I want to thank all of you for letting me into your family as the person here who is not a medical doctor in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate all the help that you have given me over the years and really accepting me as part of your family. I want to let everybody know that a lot of our panelists tonight have offered up their time over the next few, I guess, a couple of weeks. If you want to speak with any of our panelists personally, one-on-one, use your phone, just open up your camera, and you can scan this QR code that's on your screen. And that will bring you to a page where you can actually set an appointment to actually meet with one of our panelists one-on-one. So if you want to talk to them about their careers, any advice that they have for you, feel free to do that. I know they're very open to talking to you and sharing their experiences and their advice. We could go on and on for hours tonight. We have so much to talk about, but obviously we don't want to go too far over time. So this is a great way to meet with people. You're going to find that our network of graduates are so willing to help you out. They really, really are. And for those of you who may not know, we're actually the second largest provider of medical doctors in the United States. We have over 18,000 physicians practicing worldwide. We have a very long history of getting you to where you want to be. Our veterinary school is the only veterinary school in the Western Hemisphere to have 2 different accreditations. So that's really exciting. All the accolades that our school has is really amazing. And as all of our guests can speak to, the growth that we have at St. George's is really spectacular. We really do a good job of listening to our students, finding out what your current needs are, and making sure that we're addressing those needs. We recently built a brand new fitness center. We're building brand new dormitories. We're really making sure that our campus stays up to date and modern and gives you the best opportunity to not only get a great education, but to have a great lifestyle living experience as well. So it is a great opportunity. I can honestly tell you, I would not be here as long as I have been if it wasn't a great opportunity. If all the students I recruited were not happy and successful, I would not be able to do this job. It really has been an amazing experience for me. My favorite day of the year is our graduation ceremony, where I get to see students walk across that stage, get their diplomas, and watch them cry, watch their family members cry, because it is such an amazing day for them. So many of our students have known they wanted to be doctors or veterinarians from a very young age, and to be able to reach that goal, is a very emotional time, and it really makes me feel good. with what I'm doing to help students reach that goal, because I've never known what I wanted to do when I grew up. So to be able to help everybody else reach their lifelong dreams really makes me feel good about what I do. So I'm hoping I can help all of you who've logged on tonight reach your lifelong dreams. If you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me at any point in time as well. It looks like Danielle may have something to say.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I'm one of the people who are like on the QR code. If you want like questions about life on the island, anything like that, feel free to come and talk with me. I guess, do we email them like how to set it up, or how do I set up? Yep. Okay. Contacting the person, Jeff.
Yeah, so you can talk to them on the phone. You can talk to them FaceTime, whatever you want to do. You guys can work it out.
How do we get in contact with them? Because I got one, but it doesn't give me their information, so I don't know how to contact them.
We'll have Joe help you out.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, if you have any questions about the island, traveling with pets, anything, I'm your gal on that one.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I do appreciate all of you taking the time out. I know we're getting very close to the holidays. Everybody is so busy. So I really do appreciate everybody attending this conversation tonight. It's been an amazing evening, just be able to hear everybody's stories. I hope you found it interesting and useful as well. I really appreciate it. We'll leave the chat open for a couple more minutes. So if you do have any more questions, feel free to type them in. We do have people on the Facebook page. Hi, I hope you guys are doing well over there. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the Facebook chat as well, and we will answer them over the next couple of minutes. Everybody, please stay safe. You know, we're hoping everybody attends all of our events, stay indoors. So you're not out partying, having fun outside, getting COVID. We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to actually have Joseph Petro come on. So tell everybody what you did today.
Well, today was actually my only day off for the week, but usually I'm in the COVID ICU. And actually yesterday was pretty awesome because our residency started rolling out all the vaccinations. So we got that yesterday. So it was pretty awesome to have.
Very good. So you're one of the first people to get the vaccine. So that's excellent. So hopefully we can get everybody vaccinated quickly and we can all get back to somewhat of a normal life. I know we're all looking forward to that. So, but in the meantime, please everybody stay safe, stay healthy. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to contact the SGU family. We are here to help you out the best that we can. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully meeting all of you either in Grenada or at graduation. So thank you for attending tonight and have a wonderful evening.